All right. Well, okay, got the recording thing started. Anyway, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the White Sand Self Care Community. I am your host, Laura Cross, and I am excited to have with me today Adam Marlow. He is a manifestation and an intuition coach out of Gainsborough, England. And one of the things he loves to do is to help hardworking dads achieve a life of their dreams. So, Adam, I want to thank you for taking the time to join us. And maybe you could tell us a little bit more about yourself and how you got to becoming a manifestation and intuition coach.
Um, well, where to start? Where to start? Firstly, thank you for having me here this afternoon. It's a great privilege and honor to be speaking on the Wife Sons self-care community. I think I got that right, but
You did. You did. You're doing fine.
yeah. So, I mean, for me, I've always had an interest in spirituality. I've always had a want to understand the universe at a greater level, and certainly understand myself at a greater level because as I've come to find out through the years, is that we hold all the keys to our own evolution. It's not something that you can do. You can't do the outer work and not do the inner work. It just doesn't happen that way. But um, I do remember quite remarkably when I was about 4 years old, we were singing hymns at the school, and I remember the song. He's got the whole world in his hands, and thinking the song was actually about me. So there's always been that interest in my divinity or in my spirituality and the growth from there. So it's always been there, but knowing what to do with it and knowing the journey to take is not always the easiest. And there's that adage of how when you're ready, the teacher will arise, but I'll come to that more later. So you fast forward a bit and we go through our trials and tribulations as young people. We face life and we get whatever war wounds we get from it. And then we come to my 20s, and then I started reading literature that started looking at um, toning work. So creating certain tones to awaken certain parts of the body, certain chakras and things like that.
Mhm.
And I was still sowing my wild oats, if you like. So I was still partying and still not taking it seriously, but having a play with it and having fun and then forgetting about it. And then my daughter was born. And for many people, it's the turning point in life is when you become a parent yourself. And it's that responsibility and knowing that you've got to be a role model, an example for this person in life. And it certainly made an impact on me. I know that much. And it was 2 years after when I became acquainted to someone who gave me my first ever tarot reading. So I'm 29 at this point, so I'm quite my way. I'm quite my way through my life, but not where I am today. But
Oh, you're way ahead of me. I didn't get introduced to this world till I was in my 50s, so you're doing good. You're
yeah,
yeah, way ahead.
well, well, we each reach it when we're ready. You see, so and there's no such thing as coincidence. That's my view, at least.
Yeah.
So everything falls into place when it must. Um, So yeah, 20 to 29. And the lady who gave me a reading is a local lady. And she also then became on to train people in shamanic work, which was interesting. And I spent some time doing circle work with her and, well, attending a weekly circle where we did shamanic work. And this is like a lot of the things encountered, like tarot and all the things, they focus on the spiritual side, but shamanic was the first thing that really incorporated mind, body, and spirit. So it's about working on the level of all three and really incorporating that. And then because I was still taking breaks in and out, flitting in and out, um, another friend, uh, Stuart, who brought me on to Neville Goddard. And I'm not sure if you're aware of Neville Goddard, but Neville Goddard was around in the 1920s, especially in New York. So just after the Depression and around the Depression. Um, he was introduced to the not the law of attraction, but the law of assumption.
Okay.
And what the law of assumption says is that um, you have to assume that you have what you're wishing for and live as though it is fact. And he uses, and he was massive in the 1920s. He used to pack out like Carnegie Hall and places like that to the rafters with people following this. And before that, he was into astrology, and he was quite a well-renowned astrologist as well. But he managed to take this modality and spread it around the world. There's still recordings of him you can hear on YouTube, and you can get his books like Power, and I can't remember what else. I can't remember the name of his other books. I do apologize, but
You're okay.
it's definitely worth looking. Oh, The Strangest Secret is another one of his books, I believe, but
Mhm.
he's definitely worth looking at because there's a lot of wisdom. Um, and he used the ideal that he took verses from the Bible, and he identified that we are all Christ consciousness. So Christ consciousness is your imagination, and your imagination is a tool that you use to create your reality. And so you then utilize that using specific means to craft the reality you want. Um, and I had a bit of success using these tools. And then there was just that question of more because things weren't quite working out and they weren't quite going the way I wanted. So and then discovered Christopher Duncan through a YouTube ad. Became certified in Christopher's work, and through Christopher's work, I encountered a gentleman's work called William Whitecloud. William has taken an amalgamation of quite a few modalities and created a structure that takes you from novice, so you could be your average Joe walking on the street. Apologies to any Joes watching, but um, uh, right through to a master creator in the space of less than a year. And it's really about taking that journey of firstly beginning to understand yourself and then moving all the way through to because it's in understanding yourself that you truly begin to see how you block your creations, how you block the things that you're wishing to manifest and have in your life. And a lot of this is usually because you're doing it because you don't want something else. So that's what known as a negative vision,
Mhm.
and what will block you from truly getting the things you would love to create in your life. There's a lot more to it, but if
Right.
people wanted to know about that, then look up natural success trainings or Google William Whitecloud, and you'll find a great deal. But yeah, and that really gets us to where we are. So it's William that I mean, I've had always had that slight intuition, but William really helped me. William's work really helped me tap into that intuition and really helped me to see that my path, my service to people is in creating this movement, this enterprise um, that serves people around the world, specifically dads like myself, who were born in an era where we're at that tail end of being, well, you're not allowed to share your feelings, you're not allowed to say how you feel or show the feelings, for goodness sake, because it makes you look vulnerable, it makes you look weak, and you can't do that. Um, And for me, a great driving force is always wanting to see that shift, always wanting people, especially men of that generation, to be able to access their vulnerability and access their heart, because accepting your whole self is fundamental to creating the life you would love to create. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's where we are.
absolutely. And I know that's kind of a, I don't know if you want to call it a stereotype. It's just something the way it's always been. But it actually takes a lot of strength to show, that you're vulnerable, you have feelings, and I mean you're human. Why wouldn't you? Just because you're a guy, you're not supposed to have that. I mean,
Yeah,
it just
yeah.
yeah.
So it's always been quite a stigma, and it is still quite prevalent today because I know I don't want to focus on it too much, but I know that something like 80% of suicides are male, and it's quite heartbreaking to hear that. considering the world we live in is it's a time of information and connectivity, given the tools we have, but when we're more disconnected than ever, especially from ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talk a lot about life as a sovereign creator. So what do you feel are the fundamentals on approaching the life as a sovereign creator?
Yeah, well, going back to how I mentioned the work with William, we have five values that we adhere to. They aren't laws; they're not laid down with an iron fist, but these values are what hold us in check as creators. So there's truth. So always go for the truth. The saying, the truth always has a ring to it.
Mhm.
So as an intuitive creator, as a sovereign creator, you are always striving to seek for the truth. And when you're in your intuition and when you are following that, you can always tell when you're in the truth because it comes from the heart and it doesn't come from a place of egoic agenda. There's nothing to it. It's just coming from that space that will inspire you and show you, especially in terms of creating your next steps. For example, the next one is service, and this is one of the key ones for me. Is that, and having experience being of service, is that firstly you are of service to yourself, but secondly and more importantly, in the work you're doing, you're of service to others. And as a coach, as an author, as a speaker, as a father, we're here to be an example and also to help others step into that path, that power of being their sovereign self and become conscious creators. And it's well, there's no other feeling that I've had like serving someone in doing this work, and I can categorically say that out of everything I experienced, being of service to others is truly remarkable.
Right.
Um, the third we have is focus, and this is quite a difficult to adhere to at times because life happens. So you have to remain focused, but you have to remain focused to the right things. And as I said earlier about with negative vision and things like that, it's having the will and determination to hold the focus so that your end result becomes to fruition. Um, the fourth one is self responsibility, and it ties in very well to focus because you have to hold yourself accountable, you have to hold yourself responsible. And this comes from attending courses and being focused on the courses to being self-responsible out, these are my choices, this is my life. I've made the choices that have led me to where I am, and so now I'm going to focus differently. So and the fifth one, which adheres more to the group work and things that you do upon the courses, is confidentially, but also as a coach myself, it is fundamental in that relationship and rapport that you build with people. And aside from those, they are very, very fundamental to becoming a sovereign creator. But and I touched on it slightly previously, is knowing yourself and really connecting with yourself. See, a lot of spirituality talks about being one with everything and really connecting with everything, but a fundamental flaw in some of the things I've encountered is that it doesn't really seek to understand self, and this is what I mean when I said I touched on it briefly earlier. For me, that lack of self connection is why we can't connect with other people. It's why we can't connect with the world or nature as a whole. It's because we're lacking that fundamental connection to the self, that fundamental understanding of who we are and what makes us work the way we do. Because it's in diving into even the murkiest parts of who we are that we can truly start to uncover our gold. Because, and essentially, some of the things that we perceive as bad about ourselves or as real negative things are actually the most pure and rewarding things and gifts we have. And it's truly remarkable. So, yeah.
Definitely is. So
Yeah.
how can choice making affect the change in our lives?
Well, no matter what you do, you're making choices every day. You
Mhm.
choose whether to snooze your alarm when you wake up or get straight out of bed. You choose whether to go in the shower first or make a coffee. Uh, you choose whether to skip breakfast. You choose whether uh, to work out. It's everything in life is a choice, and everything stems from choice. So the choices you make right now have a ripple effect on your life, and certainly to a greater and more observant effect at people around you and the world around you. And so it's making that determined choice to choice to do it. Oh, excuse me, I forgot my word. To
Well,
do
like you
it.
said, everything is a choice because even if you
Yeah,
say, well, I'm not deciding, well, you've made a choice not to
yeah, you
decide.
have. Yeah,
It is
yeah,
still a
yeah,
choice.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A
Yeah.
choice is a choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it's about because we can choose to believe that life is a game of chance, but it's not. Every choice we've made up to this moment has led us to where we are, and it's about making conscious is the word I was looking for. Conscious choices to really go for what you love and not allow our our limitations to hold us back. But that's a conversation for another time.
Yeah, absolutely. So why is self-acceptance so important when it comes to living as a sovereign creator?
Well, as I just touched on then, and it's we have so many things during the ages of zero. So from the moment you conceived until the age of 5, we go through a process known as individuation. And along the length of this process, we learn from our mother, we learn what our heart is and how we receive love. And then from the ages of around 3 to 5, we learn from our father the place in the world. And this is through validation or unmet validations. And all this is an attempt for your ego to validate your higher awareness, your higher self, your higher consciousness, if you like. And it no matter what you do, no matter who you are, it's not going to be met because you're trying to validate principles that can't necessarily be quantified or physically met. And this is a problem. So no matter who you are, we always end up with a limitation. And quite often, as I've experienced and as I've observed, is that these limitations are quite often what hides our power. They're what hides the gift that we have to share with the world. And I mean, I've been doing this work for around 4 or 5 years now. In particular, William's work, I've been doing it for 2 years, and I'm still diving deeper and deeper on what makes me who I am. I'm still diving deeper and deeper on what holds me back and what my gift is, because we uh we don't just reach a point and go, oh well, here I am, but
Yeah.
we're constantly evolving. We have to constantly grow, because if we don't, then we just stagnate, and then we just die in a sense. We just become, I don't know, like a stone with moss on.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. We constantly learn and we're constantly
Yeah,
evolving. I think everyone is.
yeah, certainly. So to answer your question, because I don't feel I've actually accurately done that yet, is that you have to keep striving to know who you are and to become truly authentic. You have to embrace all of you. You can't just skip parts. It's like you can't skip leg day, because you need to work on the whole system to be able to truly encapsulate who that you are, so that you can then give it out to the world, because deep in every one of us is a gift that is here to be shared with the world, and it's just crying out to be recognized and to be well, released, for want of a better word.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You're
Yeah,
such a wealth of knowledge. And I think actually you've probably, you've had there's been some other people that I've met as well that knew something from a very early age, but you might not have just known quite
yeah.
what. Actually, I think that's quite remarkable. And I'm glad you've been able to, tap into it and not only better yourself, but better others around you for it.
I aspire to better myself. I mean, we can be our harshest critics, can't we?
Oh,
So,
yes, we can. Yes, we can.
and though I do this work, there are still days that I wake up and choose to snooze my alarm. So,
I try that. It never works out well, so I stopped.
yeah,
I'm
exactly.
like,
Yeah,
I'm like, it's worse. I should have just got up.
yeah.
But Adam, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you or to connect with you?
I'm available on Facebook. Uh, I do have a LinkedIn that will supply. Um, but yeah, that those are the best ways. There is an email address as well. Actually, I apologize, but yeah, I
Okay.
will. I will
You still
supply.
do one-on-one coaching as well?
I do one-on-one coaching. Yeah.
So you can do them over Zoom, or do you do them all in person, or do you work with
Oh
pretty much
yeah.
people anywhere?
I'm happy to work online on Zoom and in person. Naturally, if it's like California, I'm in the UK, so Zoom would be preferable.
Oh,
Um,
yes, absolutely. I'm in Missouri. I'm not as far as California, but yeah.
no, yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So those are the best ways to reach me. Anything else? Sorry, cut you off
No,
then.
you're fine. What is one thing that you would like to leave everybody with before we go today?
Um, for me, especially as a person, as a parent, is that the thing I've learned is that, and it is like, I believe the children are the future, but
Yep, there you go.
they are, they really are the future. And I mean, it is very cliched and it is an old rhetoric, but their their world is challenging enough at the moment. And I know that I have to do the best I can to be an example for my children. And we uh we can only do this by understanding how to better ourselves and being that example.
Mhm.
I didn't
Yep.
quite formulate that the way I meant to, but
No, that's okay. I always said, because we have a tendency, especially if you're a giver and a very heartfelt person, you have a tendency to just give, and pour everything out. But if you don't replenish yourself, then you run
yeah.
out. I mean, you have to fix and figure
Well,
out what's with you so that you can fully give. Otherwise, you're just going to run out.
one of the greatest things I've learned about recently, doing Creative Warrior, was about functional relationships. And for myself, for a good portion of my life, I've not been in functional relationships. I've actually been a oh my goodness, how have I forgotten that? Yeah, I'll have to come back to that. But I know that since learning about functional relationships, and it's not just functional relationships with people, it's functional relationships with my creations, functional relationships with my dysfunction, and seeing how it affects my energy and saying, actually, no, I'm not taking that anymore. I'm not doing that anymore. This is me saying, right, I'm gonna take a break from that because it's not actually serving me to pursue that any further. It's not actually serving me to do that any longer. And this is the other point. When you do come to terms with who you are and you start to see your own vices, your own triggers, your own dysfunctions, you start to see how you give so easily, or you people please, or
Mhm.
put others' needs above your own. My greatest limiting belief is that I'm not worthy. So for me, there's always a massive amount of guilt. There's always a massive amount of putting people before myself and their needs, and really serving my own needs. I wouldn't even say last is a consideration in terms of limiting belief, because I can't, yeah, I can't actually
You're
uh,
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can actually
yeah.
like a quantifiable place on that or marker
Mhm.
on, and it is really it is really debilitating at times. I'll say that, but it does give us that place to work from as well. So in life, we have a roadmap, which is we want to get to a point, but all these limiting beliefs, all these ways in which we trap ourselves, and this dysfunction, it just gives us that starting block, that place to rest our feet before we start the run. You know,
Mhm.
it's remarkable to see yourself and understand it's just how you operate, and that awareness is beautiful. And like I say, it's that as well as being a starting block, it's that place that builds attention. So when you go, it helps to fire you forward. It's like a springboard
Yeah.
is appropriate. So yeah,
Well, I would say I know you're not alone. I know many struggle with the thing that, you're not worthy, or are you worthy? I
yeah,
think you're doing a remarkable job. And
yeah.
I'm sure anyone that can relate to what you're going through and what you're talking to would love to connect with you.
Well, I
Um,
look forward to it certainly, and I'll be grateful for, and I'll gladly accept anyone who comes to me, even with questions.
oh, yeah,
It doesn't have
absolutely.
to
I
be
mean,
for
even
any.
though like most times, even when we're helping people, we're still learning too. So you get
This
to
is it.
learn and help others at the same time.
This is it. And quite often we see ourselves in others. And the one thing I have learned in this work is both on both sides of the coin. So on the dysfunctional side and on the functional side. So uh, as someone who's trapped in their limiting beliefs, or as a creator, you never allow yourself to see the full picture. It is truly remarkable how
Mhm.
true that case is. I've seen it with my coach in the past, and I've seen it by delivering this service to others. You never truly do allow yourself to see the full picture.
Yeah,
Pardon me. So yeah,
beautiful.
it's magical. It's beautiful work.
It is. And
Yeah,
I'm glad you are doing it and taking up the reins. But I want to thank you for taking the time to be here and share this with the community. And I would highly recommend, like I said, anyone that can relate to what Adam's been talking about, absolutely connect with him. As you can see, he's pretty much all heart and easy to talk to. And I want to
yeah.
thank you for taking the time for being here.
Thank you, Laura. Like I say, it's a privilege and an honor to be able to talk here tonight.
Oh, it's my privilege. My
Yeah,
privilege. Thank you for
yeah,
being here. And everybody, we will have a wonderful weekend wherever you are, and we will see you
yeah.
next week.
Have a great weekend. Thank you, Laura.